Or is it good work? Can this extremely loud man make you rich? Oh, this is perfect. It's about Jim Cramer, the financial internet's favorite punching bag. Jim Cramer.
Jim Cramer has been hosting CNBC's hit show Mad Money for almost 2 decades. A show where he advises people on stock picks, interviews CEOs, and hits sound effect buttons with what I can only describe as the fervor of an erect and rabid primate.
Run into the ground! House of pain! Shot the lights out!
This is what I need. Holy f, I'm just seeing the vision of the future of Marketing Monday. This is what I need, dude. I need a fucking set and I need sound effects. This is actually fire, dude. This is actually be so funny. Glizzy.
But while hundreds of thousands of people tune in nightly to hear Cramer's stock picks, his biggest critics are quick to point out that he appears to be wrong all the time. So today, I'm going to go where no journalist has gone before. The bottom of Jim Cramer. Of course, like any journalist, the first move I had to make in telling Jim's story was to contact Big Santa himself. But as a YouTuber and a man with an email from 8th grade, I knew that wasn't going to be easy. My pursuit began with a flurry of messages to CNBC, using all of the carefully worded language I could muster. But the big kahunas over at Broadcast Media weren't having it. So I decided if I couldn't talk to the real Jim Cramer, I'd do the next best thing that any normal and ethical reporter would do if the central interview of their piece fell through. Post a role for a Jim Cramer lookalike online and hire an actor to play him in a sit-down pre-scripted interview with me, Dan Toomey. But even though I technically didn't have the real Jim, I still wanted everything he said to be as close to the truth as possible. So I wrote our interview almost entirely out of things that Jim Cramer has actually said or written in the last 30 years and have now been taken entirely out of context.
Jim Cramer, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I'm Jim Cramer.
Jim, I want to start with your obsession with picking stocks.
There's nothing within me. I'm just a dollar sign represented by a man.
Got it.
From a young age, Jim Joseph Cramer was ambitious. He had an early fascination with stocks as a child.
In 5th grade, while others wasted time after school playing board games or combat or touch football, I'd be gaming the close.
Soon, this whiz matriculated to Harvard University, where he became the editor-in-chief of the Harvard Crimson, which he parlayed into his first job in the media.
Your first gig was at the Tallahassee Democrat, a newspaper out of Florida. That must have been fun. This has been a good time.
Only a few months after my arrival in Tallahassee, a crazed murderer broke into the sorority house down the block from my apartment. I got there early enough to leapfrog every other crime reporter in the country in the unfolding Ted Bundy national serial killing spree. My reporting on that double murder received so much coverage around the country that editors who wanted hard-boiled crime reportage clamored to offer me jobs. In just a few months, I found myself covering for the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner everyone who died violently in California.
But despite this thriving media career, Jim just couldn't shake his financial fetish. So he soon turned his higher ed creds, love for stock picking, and hardworking attitude into a job at Goldman Sachs, where he worked before starting his own hedge fund in 1987. And it was running his fund where Jim Cramer got to publicly display the thing he would become most famous for: rage.
In 1997, I tried to strangle a young analyst because he had cost me so much money by Parametric, a failing software company.
Really?
You know, based on that logic, some people could try to strangle you, Jim Cramer. You've lost a lot of people who watch TV for stock picks a lot of money.
Sounds like you were fun to work with.
Oh, you made a bargain with the devil if you worked for me. I was that person. It was mental illness, I think, in a lot of ways that made it so I was too angry.
Throughout the 90s, household investment in stocks grew with a ripping bull market. Meanwhile, this scarlet-skinned stock sodomizer became a common fixture in financial media. Magazines, newspapers, Charlie Rose, even his own website, TheStreet.com. He was everywhere.
One of the main reasons he was so popular was because he was massively successful as a hedge fund manager. His fund was one of the top in the business, averaging 24% annually over his time at the fund. He managed almost $500 million in assets and claimed to have been making $10 million a year, but still gave it up to yell and smash buttons on TV.
By 2005, he had quit his hedge fund and was now hosting Mad Money, his own show where we finally got to see the big man unmuzzled.
Hey, I'm Cramer! The lightning rod on Cramer's Mad Money! money. Hey, first on CNBC, man electrocuted. Only the best. They know nothing.
Who is Jim Cramer?
Please welcome Jim Cramer.
The new Stark Industries business plan.
But despite this success, it wasn't all roses in Cramerica. How did you first come across Jim Cramer in your life?
It's probably the same for me as it was for a lot of people. It was the Bear Stearns call. Back during the great financial crisis, Jim came out and said, hey, Bear Stearns is fine.
Should I be worried about Bear Stearns in terms of liquidity and get my money out of there? No, no, no. Bear Stearns is fine.
And then like a day or two later, they went under.
Bear Stearns shares are down 90% this morning.
Damn, I wish I had that. I wish I had that clip in time. I would have thrown it in the Marketing Monday. That's hilarious.
And while Cramer has argued that in this clip he was talking about the caller's stock money being held in Bear Stearns rather than Bear Stearns' stock price, it is a bad look when you're the guy screaming Bear Stearns is fine and days later Bear Stearns collapses. And it was this moment that led to Jim Cramer appearing on The Daily Show, where he was spit roasted like a wedding hog by former Good Work intern Jon Stewart.
I can't reconcile the brilliance and knowledge that you have of the intricacies of the market with the crazy bull I see you do every night.
And in some circles, especially the dark world of financial meme Twitter, Jim Cramer has since become more famous for his stock misses than his makes. Like the time he told Elizabeth Holmes she's the next Steve Jobs. Or when he...
If you don't know her, she's the Theranos scammer went to jail. That's hilarious.
To me, it's reasonable to compare you, I usually don't do this, to Steve Jobs and what he did for computing. I regard you as a visionary, next generation person.
Or the time he called Sam Bankman-Fried the next JP Morgan. Or the time he told viewers to buy Silicon Valley Bank before its collapse. Or when he recommended you buy the stock of Chinese ride-hailing company Didi at its IPO shortly before it was fined by regulators and forced to delist. Cramer's picking inaccuracy has become such a widespread joke that CEOs will literally tweet at him not to talk up their companies. And while some have turned Cramer's misses into memes, others have turned them into money. Namely King Tuttle here, the creator of the Inverse Cramer ETF, a fund that automatically invests in the opposite of Cramer's stock recommendations.
Watching financial media bring Cramer out day after day with deference. Hey, we're going to find out what Jim thinks. And zero accountability for bad calls just rubbed me the wrong way. And somebody had to take the other side of it.
There was two guys who did a study of Economist headlines, the top story in The Economist. And they found if The Economist made a strong call in their headline, like the dollar is doomed or Brazil is whatever, 66% of the time it was the opposite. It was better than a coin flip wrong, which is pretty crazy.
And sure, this criticism absolutely has real teeth, but it does raise a long pondered philosophical question. Can anybody accurately pick individual stocks and consistently make a profit?
There is this perennial kind of question, the search for talent. Is talent real? Like, does talent really exist in terms of stock picking? I have no doubt that it does exist in people who take a very, very long-term view. I think there is almost no one. I think it's basically impossible to be right in the short run. The corollary to that is there such a thing as anti-talent? It's fun to have a product that's poking fun at Jim Cramer, but I don't think that betting against someone
I don't think that
falsely
works either.
portrays themselves as a stock market genius is a genius move at all.
But I think the magazine one is bad. I don't know about Jim Cramer. If Jim Cramer's if he's trying to get it right and he just gets some wrong, like he's a coin flip, whatever. But I think the magazine one, there actually is. I think the magazine title as contraindicator is actually relevant. And the argument they made in the paper that I read was like, by the time the magazine is covering something, it is usually too late to make appreciable money from it. It's like by the time they get the trend, like, I don't know, Brazilian real estate is doomed or whatever. It's like an example they use in the thing. It's like by the time they get that, it's usually near the bottom of that. It's like they are appreciably late, which is interesting.
But if you'll lose money following Cramer's trade, and you'll lose money doing the opposite of Cramer's trades, then isn't there anybody out there who can tell me exactly which stocks I need to pick so I will definitely make money?
And I've been on CNBC, Bloomberg, Fox, all of them. There's no such thing as a guru. If there was, why would I be out on CNBC telling people what to buy and sell? I'd be on a yacht making my own buy and sell
Pelosi
decisions.
is your best guru,
Study after study shows that it's as bad or
You
worse than a
cannot
coin
stock
flip
pick.
listening to TV pundits. Not to say that I'm the world's greatest stock picker. That's why I don't do well on TV is, you go in there and they ask you something and you're like, okay, this is probably true, but let me just throw in this caveat, and that's not interesting. That's not fun to have on TV or radio.
That's right. We don't like nuance. We like assertive confidence.
This is funny contrasting with the fact that every U.S. senator with stocks trade. But yeah, listen, if you want reliable, above average stock returns, become a U.S. senator. Like, those are the only... there's a few people. I think Stan Druckenmiller has a very incredible career of stock picks. There's people at the top of the top, but, like, they still have big failures.
So do we really need talking heads at all? It's a tough question for a guy like Cramer, but I wasn't afraid to ask it straight to his face.
But what do you say to your biggest critics?
We're not going to win you. In the end, this is a commercial product. And the market has judged this commercial product to be worth something. And if it wasn't, I would have been canceled years ago. Why ever talk about individual stocks then? If you manage your portfolio well, if you do the homework and stay disciplined, I think you can beat the S&P 500 with a diversified group of individual stocks. If you're not going to do homework, then own an index fund. And that's perfectly fine. You need to do what is right for you.
Yes, we should do what's right for us. And maybe when it comes to Jim Cramer, that means changing our perspective. We have Jim Cramer because he's good TV. We hate Jim Cramer because good TV is extremely not conducive to communicating nuanced financial advice. The market has clearly...
I am Jim Cramer.
Jim Cramer, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I'm Jim Cramer.
Oh, this is interesting. I analyzed all 700 plus buy and sell recommendations on Cramer in 2021, and he had actual phenomenal results over one day. So if you bought what he told you to buy and then sold it the next day, I mean, that's like the influence he has, I guess, right? 555%. His sell recommendation performed even better than his buy. 57.5% of the stocks he recommended to sell dropped in price the next day. Wow. The one-day returns on his buy and sell recommendation have been phenomenal.
But how about longer term? A 2017 study analyzed 111 of Jim Cramer's buy recommendations and found that over a 6-month period, his recommendations did beat the S&P, but by such a negligible amount that nothing can be concluded. In that case, you might as well play it safe and stick to the S&P.